Look like the invisible
Greetings, everyone.
man.
We're officially live in effect. We had a little technical difficulties, but we worked it out. And we have the good brother Tony Drake here. Um, Before I go into this, I want to tell all my listening audience, the people that's coming on. Actually, Tony, it looks like we want to get some people in there. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay, no. Okay, that's an old message from you. Okay. All right. Well, let's get it rolling, man. Let's get it rolling because
Okay,
it's being recorded anyway, and we're gonna put it up. We're gonna put it up anyway, so people can interact now or they can interact later. So it's all good.
cool.
So first off, as your man here, Yourbrozo, and if you haven't already, of course, pick up your copy of my book, Bicultural Living and Leaving World Evolutions. Tony, Drake, thank you very much. I know you got a copy. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Appreciate
I
your
do.
support on that. Um, so let's get at it, man. I like to always give my guests the floor to explain who they are, to give a little background of what they do, et cetera, et cetera. So please, Tony, go ahead.
Well, my background is simple and complex. My background, I would say, would be like, in terms of academics, would be like organic chemistry, and then I studied agriculture for a bit and taxonomy, of plants in the field, ethnobotany. Well, I shouldn't use ethnobotany, but botany. But I did go specifically into
Hmm.
ethnobotany because, that's associated with cultures. So that's really my background. Oh, and
Hmm.
culinary arts, food science.
Hmm.
However, we all have these incredible journeys in life, the mountains and the valleys.
Hmm.
We all go through it. So I can say with certainty, man, this journey has been like very eye opening for me. And I've seen a
Hmm.
lot, I've learned a lot, and I'm doing a lot of work right now. But I would like to say, if I had to start this talk off with you, I would say
Hmm.
I'm going to do something that I never do.
Hmm.
And this is what I'm going to say. I would like to speak to men right now. Honestly, I want to speak to men.
Okay.
And the reason why is because this country have become so gynocentric and it is not a masculine country anymore. Masculinity has basically been
Hmm.
squashed and everything is like
Hmm.
pro-feminine, you know. I'm going to speak to men and let men know that this whole thing is a plan. Now, if you go into social media, you'll see a lot of conflict between black men and black women, or I should say Afro men, Afro women, Hebrew, however we choose to look at, our identity. And there's a lot of conflict going on there. But let me tell you what I see. Though the world put the black man under the microscope and critique everything that we do, the thing that I'm seeing is most black women are not being accountable or held accountable for basically anything with regard to their behavior in this culture, in this country, and the whole world knows it. And so while the black man
Hmm.
has been put under a microscope, critique, ridicule, jailed, dehumanized, you name it, a million and one traps to destroy us. On the other hand, you see so much praise going on with black women. And here is what I see. The plan that I see is you have these two persons within the group clashing with each other. And even though the black man's reputation is have been besmirched for hundreds of years, while the black woman has never been held accountable or put under the microscope, here's what I see. You separate the two of them. You give one a bad reputation, but you elevate them at the same time. The other one you simply denigrate constantly, so that one becomes unbearable and the other one becomes a permanent stereotype. So you get rid of one by jailing, killing, crime, drugs, sexual perversion, all of this stuff. And the other one, the same, but you keep them separated. You separate the value system. So you actually destroy them both simultaneously, and neither one of them can see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say this to men. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly men of original, Melinated, Hebrew, African, it doesn't matter. I am saying we're all lumped into the same category, regardless of how we define ourselves, how we know and see ourselves. The best thing we can do at this point, this is for men first, is get our minds right. And when I say get your mind right, I mean like really get it right. Make yourself valuable. Get the right information so that anywhere you go in this world, you are valued. Get your health right, meaning no more Kentucky Fried Chicken, no more McDonald's and all of that other garbage. You got to eat wholesome. You got to eat righteously, you know? You got to really take care of yourself like to the extreme, you know, literally. I remember I heard Bobby Hemmett say this a long time ago. I was at one of his lectures, and he said, you know, my brother will go 20 miles to organic, some damn organic pasta. He'll drive 30 miles for. I remember he said, I was laughing because I saw how his brother, you know which brother I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but he was really into health. I remember him very well. He was just really into health. And I remember when Bobby was a vegetarian for a while. And then, of course, you know, he went back on meat. But that, you know, that really hurt him in the long run. However, I'm saying, man, you got to get into your health to the extreme. You really got to get into your health. And then third, you've got to basically, you know, get your economics and your finance right. You got to really focus on that. Now, some people say, well, that's the white man's money and blah, 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 and that's just his tool, etc. But I'm saying, look, they said that money is the root of all evil, but if, like Claude Anderson said, if you don't have money, you get evil. And I would say that you can look at it two ways. They say the love of money is the root of all evil. But here's the deal. If you have good people with money, they will do good things. If you have evil people with money, they'll do evil things. And that's just the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, for you brothers who can hear me, you got to get your money right. Now, I'm not just talking about traditional getting your money right and working on a job and stacking your cash and saving. I'm saying, yeah, you can do that. Start your business. Get you some righteous side hustles. Get into cryptocurrency. You got to get into crypto now. And start networking with other brothers and doing like equitable work, like Sebi would always say. He would say, if you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and everybody else wake up at 9 or 10, you can't go try to wake those people up who wake up at 9 or 10. You got to go spend your time with the people who work at 5, and perhaps you can do something equitable with them. If you go try to wake those other people up who don't wake up until 9 or 10, you might get hurt. So the best thing to do is deal with people who wake up at 5. Now, I'm saying this to men because here's the deal. In the scripture it says, to have a wife is a good thing and find favor with the Most High, right? You have a lot of brothers who are getting their passports and they're leaving America and they're going to find wives other places. Only a small percentage. But as we go through the years, that percentage is going to increase exponentially. All you need to do is get 10% to do it, and it's a wrap. And that is actually occurring. But why? This so-called culture that we live in does not incentivize women to be quality women or want to be wives. It just doesn't. What is the incentive for being a wife? You can go out and sleep with who you want. You can go work where you want. You can go party and do anything else that you want. So I, as a man, I'm going to come to a woman who's living her so-called best life, or at least that's what she thinks, to say, like, you got to put all that stuff aside and just be faithful to me and blah, 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 right? You got to be cooperative. You got to be feminine. You got to be beautiful. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, kind of piggybacking off that, because just like I was saying in my book, this system only breeds Negroes and niggers,
Right.
or niggerettes, or whatever you want to call them. So you're not. There's no culture here that we
Right.
have here. There's no culture. I ain't talking about no hip hop culture. I ain't talking about all this crazy stuff. I'm not even talking about religious culture. But some of the religious cultures do put some emphasis on breeding good women, but not. There's such a small percentage of people that are truly religious, following religious rites and rituals anyway. And I'm not talking about just Christian stuff, because I'm not talking about that. But go ahead.
And so you're asking the woman to give up what she calls or how she defines her best life. Do whatever she want, whenever she want. She can have a rotation of men. One man for sex, another for money, another for partying, hanging out with, another one who come and fix things or whatever, right? So they can do this rotation because
Hmm.
the virtuous woman is ignored. But the whore and the
Hmm.
prostitute, the harlot, is praised, put on a pedestal, make music, make movies, have talk shows, whatever. So she's
Yes.
praised.
Hmm.
So the
Hmm.
virtuous woman, brother put it like this. He says 95% of the pool, they say plenty of fish in the sea. This sea,
Hmm.
in this so-called culture, 95% of what's in it is polluted, is toxic, is tainted.
Yeah,
So you only
I
have
agree.
5% left. 5% left. So what
Hmm.
does that say? The majority of them, or let's say 75% of them, are married. They're already taken off the market. So you got about
Hmm.
25% that's out there. But you have a lot of women who are becoming 18, 19, 20 all the time. So they are becoming a part of that. But long before that pool, so to speak, they've already been tainted before they even got into the pool. So what I'm saying is this. Scriptures say to findeth a wife is a good thing and finds favor with the Most High. I think that's pretty standard across the world. Even though in ancient cultures polygamy was always the natural process for men who who was respected in their communities, etc., was expected to have more than one wife. I'm just being honest. Let's look at the ancient cultures. That's just the way it was. And so, do I have a problem with that? No, I don't. Because if it's a family structure, it's a
Hmm.
family structure. It's not about sex. It's practical.
Hmm.
It makes sense. It
Hmm.
works.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
all I'm saying is this environment that we live in does not breed quality cultured women.
I
It
agree.
just
I agree
doesn't.
100%.
So, I'm going to tell the brothers get your passports, all right? Make sure that you know the countries you want to go to. Go to those countries and spend time there. Not 2 weeks, a month, or more. And know why you're going there. But have your money right. Go there, look at the culture. If you really want to find a wife, you can always go to the village and talk to the chief and say, look, chief, I'm looking for me a quality wife, blah, 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 blah. You can do it. And the chief will say, okay, let me introduce you to these families who have eligible daughters. Let me share this with you. And this is not beating up women, I'm just giving the facts. On the continent of Africa is the absolute reverse times two compared to America. Am I saying every African country? No. Because a lot of this Western stuff is definitely creeped into African societies. A lot of perversion, all that stuff is going over there. Most of them try to imitate what they see in the West,
Hmm.
particularly, in America. But you still have the most of the women you will meet in Africa have no children. And an even more significant percentage are virgins. It's the exact opposite of here. Am I theorizing that? Absolutely not. I've been to Africa at least like 14 times. and I've been to 7 countries. So
Yeah,
I know what I'm talking about.
yeah, could you please kind of go in more detail about your travels in Africa? Because somebody watching them is be like, why is he talking about Africa? What's he know about Africa? He been there, and me
Yeah.
knowing you, I know that you've done your travels. Could you please elaborate on what you did there and the time you spent there and et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. I went to Africa because I went there to do business. Didn't work out well because I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was like into the precious metals industry, etc. But I didn't really know what I was doing, so I made a lot of mistakes. However, what it did is it took me to Mali, it took me to Burkina
Mm-hmm.
Faso, it took me to Cote d'Ivoire, it took me to Togo, it took me to Ghana, and it took me to Nigeria. So I had time to actually spend time with these people, man. I lived in Africa for that period of time. And so when I was in Burkina Faso, I got to sit down and talk with some of the elders who still knew some of the ancient languages. And that was fascinating to me. He said, yeah, a lot of these people here in this village, they still speak that language. So when I went to, throughout Ghana, I saw the same thing. When I went throughout Mali, the Dogon, I saw the same thing. So I learned a lot in Africa. And for me, Africa became like home. There's some experiences you'll have in this life, and it feels right, regardless of whatever things you got to go through in those new environments. For me, Africa just felt like home. It just felt good. It felt like home. So I got to learn, the cultures. I got to try all of the foods. I had the opportunity to meet all kind of people. In fact, when I was in Africa, I had so many different women who wanted to know who I was and was asking me, was I married? It was just a bit
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming because you're not used to that kind of attention. You know, you're just
Yeah.
not.
Mm-hmm.
So here, women expect men to chase them, but in Africa, the women go after the men. So it's completely different. It's like
Mm.
the reversal. I mean, literally, as soon as I went into the airport and went to go get my passport, the woman like, "Oh my God, you handsome. Are you married? Are you sure you married?" She was just she was adamant, and this was going on the whole time I was there. So it's the opposite. That's why so many brothers want to go to Africa and
Yeah.
find wives. You're talking about Ethiopia,
Yeah.
Eritrea, and just come
Oh man.
on down and
Oh
come
man.
all the way around and come all the way up to West Africa.
Mm.
Look, I use Africa because if someone has an issue with, let's say, black American men who go out to find wives in other places, it's because they're looking for women who want to be wives. They're not looking for partners. They want wives, traditional
Yeah.
wives.
Quality wise.
Yes, who love being women. And I remember a good friend of mine, Kenny the Wiz Reeves. I don't know if you've heard of Kenny. Kenny told us one day, he said, look, man,
Mm-hmm.
you better when you get your wife work for you. She don't go work for no other man. That's how you keep your household in order. The moment she has to go out and work for someone else, you basically lost her. You got to hire your own woman. I remember he told us that years ago, but I didn't get it. It didn't really sink in. And a lot of things I didn't learn until later.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to say that to men
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of men are going to convince themselves to go do some skinny dipping in that toxic pool.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole pool is polluted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the pool is completely
It it
filthy.
it it's interesting to me because a lot of people really don't have a clue unless they've gotten out of states and experienced in different things. You know what I mean? Experience different places. I
Right.
think they say like 10%, 10% of all Americans have passports, or some ridiculously low number like that.
Right.
And I remember me growing up, I thought that like when I went across seas, I thought that everything revolved around that small southern country. I mean, that small southern city I lived in. And once I went out
Mm-hmm.
there, everything was the exact opposite. You know,
Mm-hmm.
just like you're talking about, everything was the exact opposite. You know,
Right.
and you really got to get out and travel and see all of this stuff so you can really truly internalize it and for you to really matter, because a lot of people, I'm gonna tell you, when I was across seas, a lot of people didn't come back, and they said they're not coming
Yeah.
back until this place, till America gets this stuff right. And I don't
Which
see that
means they're not
personally,
coming back. Which means they're
because
not coming back.
they're not coming. No, no, exactly. They might come to visit, but still today, a lot of these people, they might have come to visit, but they over there. You know what I'm saying? They across seas. They don't got to worry about all this crazies in this here that we have to deal with every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, just go ahead. I'm gonna keep up. Please, just keep on going.
So I've been up and down the West African coast, all up and down the West African coast. I've done that already. So now I'm ready to go to East Africa because I've never been there. So we're talking
Okay.
about Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Kenya. I'm ready to do that and go on up. I want to go to Eritrea, Ethiopia, and come all the way down. Now, I have decided that I'm moving to Africa this year permanently. I'm not coming back, and I'm not coming back to visit. No reason to come back and visit. So it is one of those countries that I'm going to move to and set up the business there. And the reason why that is it's right for it. It's open for it. And it's not just about, BK Platinum, LLC and the products, but we have some other technology that we would like to implement, and of course make that technology available in Africa too. Africa is gonna love this technology. So my
Mm-hmm.
position right now, man, is to build somewhere else. I think America is tapped
Yeah.
out. I don't think it has
Yeah.
any more essence. It has just become a big cesspool, a toilet.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
So my position is, look, I just have to get the right information and navigate this thing. A lot of countries in Africa is saying like, you got to get the sauce before you come over there. You got to get tested and you got to get the sauce, right? Well, you don't have to get the
Mm-hmm.
sauce. There's a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the platform to do it because when you talk about certain things and the architects or the beast get a hold to that information, they take that information and put that into their laws.
Mm-hmm.
You can't feed them the information to enslave you.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't
I
talk about
I
that on
see you.
this
I see
platform.
your. Yeah, I see your. Yeah, I got you. I see you got your platinum VK um, behind you on your background. Now I'm gonna tell you something,
Right.
and this just happened to me and my folks recently, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seemed like to me everybody and mama, I know I talked to you about this about how
Right.
it seemed like everybody and my mama's mom and everybody else was sick. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people were catching that thing. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people that catching that thing, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna tell you something. This is a personal, I guess, testimonial. As soon as I started getting sick, I started to take that platinum VK. you know,
Mm-hmm.
I started taking, and what I did is because I think the last bottle that I got from you was concentrated, you know,
Yeah.
so it was more potent. So I took shots. I learned how to take shots and throw water right after it, you know. But I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
tell you something, bro. I'm gonna tell you something, and you know, I it took me 2 days to get that bug out of me, man. And I'm not exaggerating at all. First day I felt it,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Then I got a fever, and
Mm-hmm.
then I just kept on doing the shots and chasing the water,
Right.
you know. And I was hemmed up, bro. I lost like 9 pounds, man. You know, straight up.
Wow,
You know
you
what I'm
didn't tell me
saying?
that.
But I never. Yeah, yeah, man. It was. I was. It was hemmed up. I was hemmed up, and I never got congestion in my lungs that turned a different color. I never got my
Mm-hmm.
lungs did never no congestion. And that
Right.
was only with the VK. I didn't have the boost, because
Right.
I gave the to Amir, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that VK, I know had to save me at least a week of being more sick, and that wasn't even with the
Mm.
full products.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna
You
tell
just
you
had the
something, man.
liquid.
That stuff worked. Yeah, I just had the liquid. I just that last time I got it from, I just had the liquid VK, and all I did,
Mm-hmm.
I took it when I was feeling sick, and man, all I gotta say, that's perfect timing, and thank you. You know what I'm saying? So I remember when you started VK. Could you kind of could you tell that story about how it all came about? Is that okay?
Oh, sure, sure. But let me, before I say that, what's interesting, man, is
Okay.
a lot of people have, who come to us and was like, okay, this person is sick, that
Mm-hmm.
person is sick, this person is sick, and I'm like, okay, here's what they have to do. The first thing they have to do is they got to stop eating garbage. And the old timers ain't trying to
Mm.
stop eating garbage, right? And I'm like, yeah, man, you
Nah.
got to just eat fruits and vegetables. No chicken, no animal products whatsoever. No starchy foods, just fruits and vegetables. That's it until your body has healed and was able
Mm-hmm.
to, your body was able to purge those toxins and those parasites and bacteria and fungus and whatever else is there. You have to let your body rest to be able to do it,
Mm-hmm.
So you can't keep putting that stuff in and feeding the problem. Because remember, in a petri dish, and my
Mm-hmm.
background is organic chemistry, in a petri dish, you can get a sterilized product that might be a polysaccharide or can be a starch, and you can grow bacteria
Mm-hmm.
on that,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And what is starch?
Mm-hmm.
Starch is a sugar.
Yeah.
So
Sugar.
if people are constantly eating a bunch of garbage, they're feeding the problem. And that's why Sebi always said that. He was like, starch is worse than meat. So
Mm.
what I tell people to do first is like stop eating everything except plants, fruits and vegetables. Nothing out of a can or frozen bag. Everything got to be made fresh until your body has healed itself
Mm-hmm.
while you're taking the VK Platinum and VK Boost.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
Yeah.
how this whole thing started. In 2020, when that thing first hit, it was like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was moving. Nobody was outside. Everybody was like paranoid and
Mm.
scared. I remember that very well. I was walking down the streets and this woman saw me coming. She walked out in the streets not to be able to walk past me. I mean, it was just, oh yeah, she did. And I was looking at these people and the guy was looking at me and he was backing. And I'm like, wow, this is like a movie. So this is how it happened. Sadiq and I were bringing all of the inventory into the restaurant, Sadiq's Bistro. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, hey man, I think we should close like everybody else is closing. And I'm like, no, Sadiq, we can't do that. And he says, hey man, we ain't making no money. Nobody's out. Nobody's coming around. I'm like, we can't do like everybody else is doing. Perhaps if we stay open, we'll get the business that everybody else is missing because they've closed their
Mm-hmm.
businesses. Let's just stay open. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So we stayed open and we started getting that business slowly and slowly until we were like the only thing. You know what happened, Joseph? We was like the only thing on the block. And eventually we were the busiest
Mm-hmm.
in the area. So
Mm-hmm.
so Sadiq came to me one day and he said, you've been into this natural health lifestyle thing for a long time. Can't you create something that can address some of these issues? I'm like, sure, I could. I never even thought about it. Sadiq brought that to me. I went back, looked through my notes, went into Edward Shuk, started looking at what Sebi was presenting in terms of the plants,
Mm-hmm.
that help, detox the system, destroy parasites, blah, blah, rebuild immune system, pump those enzymes and those substances into your circulatory system, etc. So I just started compiling all of my data. And then we tried one formula,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same formula. I mean, since then we've added a lot more to it. But we started that formula and we just gave it away to people. They come in and buy something like, you may want to try this because this does this and does that. And we just gave it away, gave it away. Then people start coming in and like, look, can I have 4 bottles? How much is it? And then we started to sell the product. And that was at its very crude stage. You remember those days. But
Yeah.
everything
Yeah. I
was
remember those days.
natural. Everything is fresh. Nothing is like comes from a bag or a bottle. Everything is actually homogenized fresh. We don't peel it. We just wash it well and homogenize everything. Homogenize means you put it through like a blender, and it makes it so fine, but actually it makes it so smooth. It's like silk. It's that well homogenized. Very low to no heat. So we homogenized it. It's just a blending or grinding technique that smooths it out. And when we did that, people it was like a rave. Like we couldn't keep it in stock. And not one person ever said it didn't work. Not one. And many people came who were sick. Not one person called us and said, this ain't working. If anything, they may have said, oh, this stuff is potent, it's too strong, and blah, blah, blah. But they never said it didn't work. But here's the interesting thing. So we went further. I said, well, Sadiq, we got this beverage, but I don't think that's enough. That's why I came up with the vegan capsules and then the oral spray. Now, if you take all three of them on a routine, like the image you see right here, it's got like the schedule. You can see it. It's got in the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening. If you take this on a regular basis, if you're sick, whatever is in your system is coming out. Now, keep in mind, I didn't say cure. I said whatever is in your system is coming out. Because nothing of a parasitical or bacterial nature will be able to stay in that potion. And let me tell you what it does. You have a group of cells in the innate system, the innate immune system, and then you have your lymphatic system and other organs that support the entire lymphatic cleansing and, purification of the body, including the liver. Once you take this VK Platinum into your system, brother, here's what happens. The first thing that happens is it shocks the hydrochloric acid in the stomach. In other words, because it's all natural and it's that potent, the hydrochloric acid mixes with it, and then what does it do? It pushes all of those elements throughout the circulatory system now. And what happens? It creates an alkaline condition in the circulatory system. And what it does is it hypes up your cells. What cells? Your B cells. Your NK cells. They're called NK, natural killer. Those cells, man, are ruthless. And there are a whole classification of these NK cells. They call them natural killers. They destroy anything. If you put the right substance in your body, you get fresh air, you get sunshine, you drink clean water. I'm not talking about alkaline water. Because when Sebi used to talk about alkaline water, he was talking about those hot springs in the tropics, or where hot springs are, that has a natural level of sulfur that makes the water alkaline. He wasn't talking about the stuff that they have in these bottles where they add these chemicals to it to give it, a high pH level.
Higher pH.
A 7 point, 8.8, 9 point. He wasn't talking about that because that's not natural. It tastes good. Sebi's position was, look, you bathe in that hot spring water, that alkaline water, and it'll pull toxins out of your body through the skin, right? Through sweat, etc. I mean, literally, at the Usha village in Honduras, he's got that. I mean, literally, he's got a hot spring on the property. So you can actually go to the pools. You can go on Sebi's on the website and look at Usha, and you'll see he's got hot springs on the property. You can go actually bathe in the hot springs. The way he set it up, like big pools, and it's hot, but it's at maybe like 80, 90 degrees, something like that. And that's what Sebi talked about with alkaline water. Sebi always taught us, because him and I had this conversation too many times. He always said, drink spring water and cook your food with distilled water. Don't touch tap water. Don't drink it. Put a filter on your shower, etc. So you don't have to bathe in it because it's full of toxins, chlorine and all kind of other toxic stuff to purify that water. So that's what he always talked about. And I remember a sister years ago, I went to her lecture, and she said chlorine keeps bacteria, germs, and viruses alive. It perpetuates them. And when she said that, I had to go back, being chemistry, I had to go back and look through all of these different formulas and systems where chlorine was based. And I'm like, wait a minute, she's right. Chlorine will kill a certain amount of bacteria, but it will allow other bacteria to stay alive. Now, once I saw that, I'm like, oh, I see now. I get it. So
Mm-hmm.
at this point, man, at this point, I'm simply saying what people are going to have to do now is they're going to have to start, changing their whole paradigm in terms of how they move, how you move in this world. Like I said about to the brothers earlier, I said I'm speaking to men. Men have to navigate differently now.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot even entertain these toxic women. You cannot.
Mm-hmm. I
You don't
agree.
know what you're getting when you get to one of these creatures. And I'm talking about here in America
Mm-hmm.
or any country like this,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
of this, this kind of value system. It's filthy, it's perverted, you
Yeah.
don't know what you're getting. You
Degenerates.
cannot take, yes, you can, look, I heard this really good analogy. And the brother was like, if you were going to take a flight, let's say a long distance flight to a different country, you got to cross water. And the pilot, before you got on the plane, they said to you, it is a 50-50 chance that we're going to make it to our destination on this flight. Do you think anybody would get on that flight?
No way. No way, Jose. I wouldn't.
Okay. Well, let's look at another risk factor, the risk to reward factor. The
Mm-hmm.
pool that we're surrounded by is toxic, it's filthy, it's dangerous, it's vile, it's degenerate, it's horrid, it's obscene, it's profane, it's all of that. Man, I'm telling brother, you have no idea what I have seen out here. And it just blew my mind.
Mm.
Look,
Mm-hmm.
it's 95%. We talked about 50-50 with the flight. The pool is 95% guarantee you're going to lose. Guarantee you're putting your life at risk. When a woman goes out showing her body, she's marketing and advertising. Who's she marketing it to?
Mm-hmm.
Who she's advertising it to? What attention is she looking for?
Mm-hmm.
If the bargaining of whoever buys that marketing, if the negotiation is right, she will also
Mm-hmm.
consider that application, so to speak, and will entertain that.
Mm-hmm.
No loyalty,
Numerous
no
applications.
chastity, numerous applications, brother. I mean, like literally
Yeah.
boxes of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Numerous applications.
yeah, you know. And so
Uh,
what you're looking
yeah.
at is you're looking at messing around with a pool that is guaranteed by 95% to destroy you. Why would you do that? Why would you take that risk?
Mm-hmm.
Get your passport. Just be cool. Men don't need sex and men don't need companionship. Not from women. Men need
Mm-hmm.
companionship
Yeah.
and brotherhood with other brothers. And you wait, you get yourself together and you go find your real wife. Don't roll the dice with these creatures.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm telling men. Don't
Yeah.
do it. Look at how we've been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
There's this movement of these so-called divesting black women that's talking about investing all black boy babies. Have you heard about it?
Mm-mm.
Aborting all black children. They're pro-abort black boy children.
Mm.
Oh yeah, go on
Sounds about
YouTube and
right.
type in
As far
divestment.
as the way these, yeah, but that sounds with the mindset I see with a lot of these individuals. I mean, from lack of a better word, I can see that completely. I can that
Hmm.
doesn't surprise me at all. No, no.
Well, maybe this will. Do you know, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe some people say you focus too much on women because men got to escape this. Because that's all that really matters, man.
Mm-hmm.
Men have got to stand up and be men. You cannot wife someone who
Yeah,
is not a
I
wife.
agree.
And then you have children by
Mm-hmm.
that. And then before you know it, they're destroyed, you
Mm-hmm.
destroyed. Yeah, come on. I've seen this too
Mm-hmm.
much. So I'm talking to men right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, just like I was saying earlier, the culture, this culture is this non-culture, I should say. It's not.
Hmm.
It's set for us to fail in all regards, spiritually, mentally, physically. You know what I'm saying? This whole system is meant for us to fail. You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
it's what I talked about this last time with Lavelle. Talk about, like, we don't even have a true rites of passage for our young teens, females and males here in this country. We don't.
Right. Right.
You know, we don't have those rites of passage. You know what I'm saying? We have these
No, we don't.
alternative rites of passage to say, yeah, or say, let's say maybe something like you might take your child and say, oh, he got to go karate for 16 years, so he goes up. You know what I'm saying? Martial arts, so he gets that aspect of him. But what about the other things? About, the spiritual rites of passage. You know what I'm saying? All these different rites of passage that we've been doing since the beginning of our time. We
Right.
don't do any of those now on a
None
normal.
of it. And,
Nothing.
and then you wonder why
You
these
know,
young
and
men go out and they go out and do all this crazy stuff. That's their rites of passage. A lot of them just don't make it
yeah,
through it and they're
exactly,
misguided.
exactly.
So they go out and do all this crazy stuff. They have to do
Yeah.
something.
I look at, like you were saying earlier about like the media, and you got all these celebrities or stars, whatever you call them. They put them on these pedestals, and they're the embodiment of the most degenerate things that you could ever see, male
Of
and
course.
females. You know what I'm saying? These
Absolutely.
rappers glorifying shooting people and doing drugs, all this kind of crazy stuff. These women, you know, jumping around half naked. You know what I'm saying? Talking all these crazy talk. Who in their right mind would want a male or female like that? You know,
This so-called culture.
who would
They
want
love
that?
it.
In
They
somebody in their
love
right mind?
this.
Yeah. They love it. You know what I'm saying? And they gonna look at a brother or a sister from the Nation of Islam. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Hebrew Israelites, Sabaeans, or whatever you want to call them, all these individuals that at least they have some type of culture, and they lame, they whack. You know what I'm saying? Because they're doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's a bizarre world. Everything is ass backwards on this place, especially in this, like you said, especially in this country.
You know, when the Matrix first came out, the first Matrix, and the
Hmm.
architect told Neil, Neil said, Neil said something to him about why did they want to destroy, humanity? And the architect said,
Hmm.
well, we created several matrices, and even though we thought they were perfect, you remember that? So even though we thought they were
Hmm.
perfect and they were working well, he said there was always an anomaly in the matrix. And when that anomaly was allowed to spread, it destroyed the entire matrix.
Hmm.
So what I realized was they were giving us a blueprint. And here's what I mean by that. When the architect said to Neil, they were as long as we gave them the idea that they had a choice, even though the choices they had are the ones we gave them, so they really never really had a choice, nor that they really have free will. He said, but once they understood the concept of free will, they became anomalies in the matrix. And the more they influenced people, they became an anomaly,
Hmm.
which means they couldn't control them anymore, so it's time to destroy it. We're in that moment now.
Yeah, at
This
that
is the
point, yeah.
culling. Yes,
Hmm.
this is the grand global culling. And here's the thing, let me tell you something.
Hmm.
When it comes to entertainers, athletes,
Hmm.
actors,
Hmm.
sports people, all of them, they have a private world that belongs to them. There's no black and white in that world. It don't exist. Think about what I'm saying.
Hmm.
In that world, there's no black, there's no white, there's no racism. Hmm.
Hmm.
Racism is for the slaves. In other words, you have the
Hmm.
managers that work for the architects that manage the narrative of racism for the slaves, the low level workers and
Hmm.
laborers and consumers and taxpayers.
Yeah,
That's for slaves.
yeah.
That's not for the elite or the altered
Slave.
ego of the elite in the entertainment world. That's why
Hmm.
you can see Kanye with all of his white girls or any of them. Because it doesn't,
Hmm.
racism don't exist in that world. Period.
Doesn't exist. Yeah.
No, they're in that group, that private group that you cannot come in. And the politicians are also a part of that group.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is, listen, the architect said to Neil, there is a level of destruction or annihilation we're willing to live with. And Neil said, well, wait a minute, you can't kill everybody because you need some of these people to be around so they can keep the system going. He says, there's a level of annihilation that we're willing to live with. We're in that time now,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing can
Yeah.
be done. Do you see how violent people have become?
Yeah.
Look, go ahead.
Yeah. 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 No, no, no. I was just no, and I agree with you 100%. And back to what you're saying about racism and stuff. For me, it's like what I'm starting to see, and I'm going to keep on saying this, is that regardless of race or gender, whatever, this is
Mm-hmm.
like you were talking about the percentages 95%, 5%, 1%. There's
Mm-hmm.
that awakening that's happening amongst humanity that gets it. It's a small percentage. But
Mm-hmm.
even for the short period that I've been on this planet, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing things I've never imagined I'd see before when it comes to the mindset of people that look different to me. Because you
Right.
first off, because you were privy to be around you were able to be around Bobby Hemmett, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and all these great teachers. So conscious for you've seen consciousness for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I'm going on, you know 30 some odd years of seeing this consciousness stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was such a small community. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That small a percentage
I
of people.
remember.
Then I'm
I
like,
remember.
wow, yeah, yeah. And now you turning on Instagram, all these different things, and you got people of all races that are talking about waking up. So
Yep. Same
you
language.
got all of these minds. Yeah, exactly. So you got all these minds coming together. You know, that's exactly the same analogy that you just gave about from the Matrix. They're
Mm-hmm.
not slaves anymore. A lot of these people aren't waste time on racism. A lot of these people are time on sex and all the things they used to just rule and divide everybody. People ain't
Mm-hmm.
studying none of that no more. You know what I mean? You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
And it's starting to get pushed to the point of it's becoming mainstream. Like imagine, children that are growing up now, they're gonna look at, and I've seen it before. Just to look at it, they look at racism like, it's it's like calling a person with special needs a retard or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's a nasty word. It's a nasty way. So it makes perfect sense of what you're saying because it's not just melanated people that's waking up. A small percentage, that percentage is growing of all people on this planet because of day and time we're in that are waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to
Mm-hmm.
really, I really saw that. So I think that Matrix is like the best analogy when you got to deal with Zion and dealing with people that get the what as opposed to that being inside
Mm-hmm.
of the Matrix.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Being inside of the
Mm-hmm.
Matrix um, and being outside of the Matrix. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about people that got hemmed up and people that didn't get hemmed
Right.
up. That's like what it's
Right.
going to at this point. You know what I mean? That's a perfect
It's true.
analogy, man. That whole, yeah, that whole. Okay, I'm gonna kind of switch gears if I can, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, because I really, when I talk to you, I really like to hear you talk about you, because when you lived in Chicago back in the day, being able to
Mm-hmm.
see like the Moore Science Temple, and Noble Drew Ali and the Nation of Islam,
Yep.
and because
Mm-hmm.
the closest thing I got to see, me being alive, is I saw Dr. Ivan Van Sertima lecture. You know what I'm saying? I've seen some good lectures. I saw Dr. York lecture. I was able to go down and see that land and stuff, and experience a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of that stuff. But
Right.
you, on the other hand, from the stories you were saying, you got a whole different like. you
But
your joint is on a
but
whole new level. Could you kind of elaborate? Mm,
but it was unintentional. Let me give you an example.
yeah,
1973, 1972.
yeah.
You know, I'm a kid. I'm a little nappy head ghetto
Mm,
kid, Chicago ghetto kid. I'm looking out the window. You know, we lived in one of those gray stones. You know, and so
mm-hmm,
across the street, I used to always see this flag flying. You know, it was Noble
mm-hmm,
Drew Ali's flag. So they were in this basement in this brownstone
mm-hmm,
across from us. And I used to look at it and I used to wonder, what does that
mm-hmm,
flag mean? You know? And
mm-hmm,
I remember that growing up. And then, of course,
mm-hmm,
the Hebrews. There was a group of Hebrew brothers in Chicago back in the 70s, and they used to wear, you know, the white robes and everything really clean. A few of them used to carry their staff with them, but
mm-hmm,
these brothers was sharp. All of them was vegetarian. I
mm-hmm,
mean, and these guys were like
mm-hmm,
very educated. And so I was this
mm-hmm,
little nappy head kid, and I used to go to the grocery stores and help people take their groceries to their cars back in the 70s for change, you
mm-hmm.
know, at the big grocery stores. I did all that, man. Had to hustle, bro. And so
Yeah.
this Hebrew brother, he used to ride this moped. He used to always come to the store, do his shopping, and then pack everything on his moped, and then hit the road. So one day he saw us out there. We was arguing and acting crazy kids, and he stopped us and started talking to us about our culture. And I listened to him, and I
Mm-hmm,
didn't know anything. So the brother was teaching us, and he was talking about, you know, who we are, where we came from, and, you know, eating righteous and everything. But we kids, I was like 13, 11, 12, 13. You know, I was a youngster, you know. But I never forgot them brothers. And
mm-hmm,
by the time I was like 17,
mm-hmm,
18, I wanted to know more
mm-hmm.
and start digging in,
Yeah.
digging in, digging in. Then I started meeting all these brothers. Then I started hanging out with the Hebrews. I started to hang out with the Rastafarians. I started hanging out with the Nation of Islam. I
Mm-hmm,
used to hang out with the Buddhists.
mm-hmm,
I used to hang out
mm-hmm,
with Silas Muhammad's people, Warf Deen Muhammad's people,
mm-hmm,
Sunni Muslims. I mean, I was like all over the place, man, learning and absorbing,
mm-hmm,
right? And I had some really good friends from Ghana.
mm-hmm,
Jofi, let me see, Kofi Jantwa was one of them. And then another brother named Kofi, who was a musician. And I was learning so much from these brothers. Then this Hebrew brother came to me. I had a bologna sandwich I was eating. I'll never forget it. And he looked at me eating this bologna sandwich. He said, "Brother, what are you eating?" I'm like, "It's a bologna sandwich. You want a piece?" My man said, "No, I don't want a piece. Brother, you shouldn't be eating that." And when he broke it all down to me and told me what pork is and blah, blah,
mm-hmm,
blah, and all of this, I stopped eating
mm-hmm,
meat that day. Well,
mm-hmm.
pork that day. No
Yeah.
more pork,
Immediately.
right? Immediately.
Uh-huh.
And then as I went down the journey, I met this brother who was an Egyptian brother. You know, he was into Kemet, heavy Kemet knowledge. His
Mm-hmm,
brother's name was
mm-hmm,
Ramses. Bad brother, martial artist. This brother was tough. He lived on the west side of Chicago.
mm-hmm,
So I hung out with Ramses and he would show me how to
mm-hmm,
make falafel and, you know, how to make hibiscus tea. He was teaching me some of these healthy things. And then he saw me eating like some chicken wings or something. And Ramses said, "Hey man, why are you eating that?" And I'm like, "Why am I eating it?" He said, "Let me tell you something. You shouldn't be eating meat because blah, 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 blah." Ramses laid it out to me. I stopped eating meat that day. I was like just about to turn 18. So from that point to now, you're talking about 40 years I've been strictly vegetarian. And now, of course, strictly vegan. But
mm-hmm,
these brothers taught me, man. And all of these brothers,
mm-hmm.
directly or indirectly, was influenced by who? Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live.
Elijah
All
Muhammad.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody ever came to us
All of
and told us about health. If Elijah Muhammad would not have done that, what condition would we be in?
mm-hmm. Mm.
Nobody ever did that. Not Marcus Garvey, not
It,
Noble
it,
Drew Ali. Nobody.
yeah. He was the only one. He wrote books on it.
He's the only one. Yes. And
Yep.
so, you know, I went and got the book and I read it over and over and over. The next book I read was How to
Mm-hmm.
Become Younger by Dr. Norman Walker. Because remember now, I'm like 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning all of this on my own now, right? And so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
eventually, one day I was sitting down listening to WVON, one of the Chicago legacy radio stations, AM, AM.
Mm-hmm.
And so I heard this guy come on the radio, and he came on and he was like, "Let me tell you something, sir. Meat is no good for you." And I'm listening to the brother, and he said, everything we eat is hybrid. And I'm listening, and he started, just chopping. Then the host was like, wait a minute. So what you're telling me is that beans are not natural, and this is not natural, and that's not natural? He said, sir, have you ever seen wild broccoli growing? He said, no. He said, because it's not natural. It's man-made. And so he just kept chopping it and chopping it. And then when he started going into the alkaline acid and everything, I'm like, whoa, this guy just blew my mind, right? Because I'm already a vegetarian. And he talked about soybeans and just all of it, right? I'm like, oh man, I got to see this guy. So he was coming to Kennedy King College in Chicago to do a lecture. Man, I went and got my ticket. Like, as soon as I heard him talk, I'm like, let me go get my ticket. I got to meet this guy. And so that's how I met Dr.Sebi. This was in like 1989, 88 or 89. That's when I met Sebi. And so he got such a great response from the Chicago audience that he came and he set up a location over in the South Shore area, close to Lake Michigan, a more like, upper middle class area. So he came and set up a store there. And I used to go to the store all of the time, and Sebi we sit down and he'd be talking about everything. This is when he was still married to Ma'a, and he had YBZLLC and Usha and his son, Sasal. And they were young. So, we just became good friends. And then he told me he was building this village in Honduras. And I'm like, really? And he said, I want the whole thing to be solar. I'm like, you want the whole thing to be solar, Sebi? He was like, yeah. I'm like, Sebi, I work for a solar company. And he was like, really? He said, I need lighting and I need this and that. Man, I got Sebi all of that stuff. I got him everything. And literally, the day he was on his way back to Honduras is when the delivery came. So we brought everything to the office, So like I said, Sebi and we were friends, man. We were friends. And so once I moved to Atlanta, we got Sebi to come to Atlanta. He did his first lecture here in Atlanta. We brought Sebi here to do that, Sebi was he lived with us. So, it was like, yeah, man, and then Atlanta loved it. But with Sebi, man, Sebi was just a regular dude, you know, And I'm just gonna be frank, just a regular dude. People praise him now like he's a god. And I remember when people hated Sebi, it was like he's a charlatan, he's a scam artist. I remember that stuff. I was there.
Yeah.
And the debating he used to have, then when he went to the Hebrews and told them soybeans was no good, they didn't want him to come back and do no more lectures, brother.
They ain't want to hear that.
So they didn't want to hear that. And everybody know what I'm saying is true. They did not want to hear that. But then you had a lot of Hebrews who adopted Sebi's, knowledge and stopped eating soy and so forth, right? But so I'm simply saying, look, the rapport that I had with Sebi was a good rapport. And Sebi was just a regular dude. And I think sometimes if these could see how these people praise him like he was a god, and I guess he was, he would laugh and he would be like, man, because Sebi told me a lot of things, man. A lot of things. Maybe some things that would be inappropriate to say on this platform. But here's Sebi. Sebi loved lecturing. And, because, Sebi was a master storyteller, right? Two, Sebi loved bringing new products, learning new botanicals and plants that he could bring to the people. Sebi loved doing business. Sebi loved women. Sebi loved his weed. That was Sebi. And he was extremely social. He knew everybody. He was a socialite, an ultra socialite to the 10th power.
Now, see, I can see why people revere him so much because in my upcoming book, I talk about how I had some issues. Like I think we talked about this one. I had arthritis in my hip, and I was playing baseball, and I was like, man, what's wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? I went to the doctor, and they was like, oh, they showed me the X-ray. They said that's all white stuff you see in the X-ray. That's arthritis. I said arthritis. I said I'm 32 years old. We talking some arthritis, man. First off, I took out my old Dr. Afro book, read through all that. And then I got some information from Dr. Sebi's what to eat, like his list of foods, different foods to eat.
Right.
And then I went to Tahuti Mad Ra and I got his full body detox.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to do that, going back, kind of piggyback what you were saying earlier, for you to do his detox, you have to be 100% vegan for it to work. Because you
Mm-hmm.
gotta get your
Right.
body flushed out and alkaline. And
Mm-hmm.
those three individuals changed my whole mindset. Now I'm not a food Nazi, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because my mama make on Thanksgiving she makes some good chicken. I ain't go, I'm not a food
Mm-hmm.
Nazi, but I don't, every so often on occasion, and plus I'm from Maryland, Virginia, so if I see crab cakes, I'm gonna get them. What I'm saying? Every so often,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm
I
saying.
hear you.
But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a food Nazi, but I know I know what I need to be doing right the vast majority of the time. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's
Right.
exactly, that's what I do. Because I saw the difference in between when I started taking those herbs and eating right, how my body reacted. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that the reason why I say all that, because I could see why people look at, and people could look at these individuals, especially Sabi, they look like him he's a god because he done saved their life. Just like Jesus saved
Yeah.
somebody's life, you know what I'm saying? Worked a miracle.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I could see why people could revere him so much. You know,
Right.
um, that's just interesting. That's really interesting, and it's interesting to me now because the way you broke stuff down. Because I remember I used to do landscaping, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
used to see these. I used to see dandelions, and I used to say to myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what if you could eat those? I used to always say, I was out in nature. I just see all these different plants and stuff. I used to, I wonder if you could
Right.
really eat those if they have any nutrition.
Right.
Excuse me. Now you broke some stuff down recently about,
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the specific name that you called it, but you were pretty much saying, and I'll let you go into more detail. But you're pretty much saying most of the foods you need to eat are stuff that you think about eating and they're the most nutritious for you, right?
Mm-hmm. You're right. Let me give
Could
you an
you
example.
could you break that? Yeah.
You know, it's funny that, in Western culture, they start the new year in the dead of winter rather than spring like everybody
Mm-hmm.
else on the planet. All of the natural people on the planet starts the new year in spring. That's why it's called the new year, spring. Life comes back,
Mm-hmm.
Listen,
Mm-hmm.
you have four seasons in this hemisphere. You have, I'm just going to start with spring. Spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Mm-hmm.
Spring, summer, and fall is when you gather all of your food from nature. Dandelion is one of those plants that never go anywhere. It is a non-deciduous plant, meaning, yes, it will drop its shoot and the flower, but the leaves are always there. They don't go anywhere. They're perennials. In other words, they're always there. They don't go anywhere. In fact, a dandelion can live 100 years or longer. If you don't mess with it, it's
Yeah.
there for the basically indefinitely. Just don't bother it. And it doesn't die. Don't take my word for it. Go out in the field and look down on the ground at whatever vegetation you see. You'll see those dandelion leaves that's very close to the ground because it's kind of like in a gestation period. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's resting. It's not producing flowers, but it's like, its leaves are still green. They just low to the ground. Same thing with plantains. Same thing with wild lettuce. So we're talking about wild lettuce has an ingredient in it that's a painkiller that the pharmaceutical industries use. It's a white sap. All you have to do
Yeah.
is cook that down with water and it's a painkiller. It's natural. Pine needles.
Yeah.
And understand pine needles
Mm-hmm.
are also nutritious. And these pine needles are like the long needles. You have cedar, you have pine, and when you look at pine needles, most people don't realize pine needles are so nutritious and so powerful for your immune system, especially the white pine varieties.
Mm-hmm.
You take that pine, you wash it,
Mm-hmm.
you dry it, you make it into a powder, you make your tea. I guarantee you will not have that heavy mucus buildup in your system. And if you add a little
Mm-hmm.
yarrow to it, the plant yarrow, dried yarrow, add that to it, that will keep
Mm-hmm.
the mucus membrane will always be minimized in your system because it will break that stuff down and it will come out through your
I
phlegm and it will come out through your saliva, etc.
I have a question that just popped up. J Nikki 25 asked, "Is kale real?"
There's a natural kale, listen, there's a natural kale that grows in the Eurasian zone, like close to Russia, Estonia, those places. It's a wild kale and it likes to grow close to rivers. There
Mm-hmm.
is a natural wild kale.
Mm.
So is this kale that we have? It's
Mm-hmm.
a cultivated kale. Now let me make something very clear.
Mm.
You have 2 or 3 types of plants. You have a plant that is cultivated. There's nothing wrong with a cultivar.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, you take the seeds
Mm-hmm.
from that wild plant and you grow it in your garden. Because when you give a plant attention like that, it's going to grow differently from the wild ones that's growing because it's not getting any attention. Plants love attention from humans.
Mm.
So you take those seeds, you grow
Gotcha.
them in your garden in nice soil and you watering them everything, they're going to grow 4 or 5 times the size of a wild one because it's not getting any attention.
Mm-hmm.
So is kale natural? Yep, kale is natural. There's a natural kale, yes. Now the other varieties
Unlike
are
broccoli.
cultivars. Yeah, broccoli is from the wild mustard. We know that. Cabbage, bok choy, Brussels sprouts, all of that comes from the wild mustard plant.
Mm-hmm.
Restrict the leaf, restrict the center,
Mm-hmm.
restrict the root, and you'll get your cabbage. Restrict the root and restrict the leaves, you'll get Brussels sprouts running up and down it. So you can look that up for yourself. All Brassicaceae, the cruciferous
Yeah.
family, is from the wild mustard family of plants. And it's just basically how they treat the wild mustard plant that you can get all of these Brassicaceae from. That includes collard greens, you know. But yeah, kale, there's a natural kale. The regular kale that you see comes from a wild ancestor.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, now
So, go ahead.
going back. Oh, go ahead. Let me go ahead. No, no, you go. You go. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that one thing about nature is this. When you have those first 3 seasons, your spring, your summer, and your fall, you can collect all of your food. You can collect what? All of the different berries. Right here in Georgia or Florida, or let me see, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and where else? And Florida. Those states, and you can go over to Alabama and a few others. Between the wild berries that grow, you have about 40 different wild berries that grow. You have a lot of edible flowers that grow. You have a lot of wild fruit that grow, including the pawpaw, the persimmon, etc. Wild strawberry, you just go down the list.
Mm.
Then you have the wild bamboo shoots. You can eat the bamboo. So you have the wild bamboo shoots. You got the pine. You've got so many different plants, man. Look, I don't know if you can see this, but I want people to see this. Can you see that?
Not really. You just disappeared when, when you did that. You
Oh, okay, I'm
disappeared
sorry.
off the screen.
Yeah, I'm the invisible man.
Oh, there you go. There you
This,
go. There you go. Yeah, yeah.
this book is, this book is
I can
called,
see
and
that.
this is not necessarily, yeah, it's not North America, but it's The Useful Plants of West Tropical Africa. It's got about 600 pages. Man, look, when I read through this book, and I've had this for now like 25 years, when I read this book
Mm-hmm.
and I realized all of these different foods that came from Africa, it blew my mind. I had no idea that all
Mm.
these different plants and foods come from Africa, including sesame seeds, including
Mm-hmm.
the rice varieties. And the village in Africa, in
Mm.
Ghana, they call it village rice. It's a little grain about this big, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like brown, a little white beige, and it grows wild. Another plant called fendo. Sebi used
Mm-hmm.
to always tell me about fendo.
Mm.
But when you go up and down West Africa, it can be called fendo, fonio. But this is an ancient African cultivar grain that grows wild. It's even smaller than quinoa, maybe 4
Mm-hmm.
times smaller than quinoa, but more nutritious than any grain on earth. Look up fonio, a
Wow.
grain from West Africa. Let me see, I think I've got some. Um, and this is, Sabi used to always say when they brought us here, did they bring our food? Fonio, Fendo, whichever you want to call it, that's our food. It's a natural grain, so nutritious,
Mm.
nothing compares to it. Nothing. by itself.
Mm.
So what I'm saying is, if you pick up a book, and I have, I've got so many books, you know me, I've got about like 3,000 books, man. So, I mean, I've been studying this stuff for so long, go way back to the 80s, early 80s, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. That's when I really got into it. And then started meeting the scholars,
Mm.
Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, we brought them to Chicago as well. But been studying this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can go in the field and identify basically anything. If you can collect all your herbs and your foods through spring, summer, and fall, and maybe early winter, you got everything you need if you know how to go in nature and identify it. You would never have to go to the grocery store. Now, I proved that this past summer, I took Isaiah into the field and I started showing him all these plants, and he was like, "That's edible? This is edible? That's edible?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, all of this is edible." Showed him the wild berry, showed him the honeysuckle, showed him the what is it? The Japanese plant, the what's the name of that plant? Kudzu. You know about kudzu, right?
Because
It grows everywhere.
uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Don't that
Mm-hmm. Yes,
you
sir.
get that kudzu leaf when they first start coming out. You go collect them all, chop them up, soak them for about 2 hours in the water. They taste better than spinach, collard greens, or any of that stuff. I mean, nobody believed it until I went and got some and brought it back to the restaurant and cooked it, and they didn't believe it was kudzu. This is kudzu. They didn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, if you know how to go in nature, you can basically get everything you need and collect it. You got pecans growing, yes. You got black walnuts growing wild,
Mm-hmm.
yes. You got acorns growing,
I've seen them.
right?
Yep.
You got
Yep. Seen them.
chestnuts growing, right? I mean, I can name about
Mm-hmm.
15 different nuts that just grow wild. And if you go to the store and buy them, it's going to cost you a lot of
On
money.
the ground.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
grows natural in nature. But we don't know how to identify it and go collect it. You know, like the indigenous people did. They didn't have to do agriculture. They did agriculture so that
Mm-hmm.
because they figured out eventually, okay, if we bring all of these different plants and we grow them here, we take care of them, they'll be able to produce more than going and harvesting them wild every year. So they wanted to have just more control, and that's where agriculture basically came from.
I had a big wake up call when I went to Haiti. Um, and I was like I talked about before. I was in Tom. You want I'll tell you about this, but I was in Thomason, up in the mountains,
Hmm.
and the sister that prepared the food for us, she, when they went to food, they just go down to the corner. They go
Hmm.
into the farmer right down the street. You know what I'm saying? The
Hmm.
food don't look like nothing like it does at Kroger or Publix. You know what I'm saying?
Right, of course.
It looks like like it just came out of yeah. It looked like it just came right out of the dirt. So I saw her take the food, bring it back, prepare it, and prepare it for us to eat. And I ate it. And Tony, I'm gonna tell you something, man. I never once got the itis. It was exact opposite. That food gave me energy. And I ain't talking about
Hmm.
like I'm talking about it was a clean feeling. You know what I mean? It was a clean feeling, and that's when that was a wake up call for the realizing how this whole food thing is jacked up. Because I physically felt it. You know what I mean?
Sabi used to
So
always say, don't eat anything
no,
without
I'm sorry. Go
seeds
ahead.
in it.
Hmm.
Now they're making everything without seeds. The watermelon don't have seeds, the oranges don't have seeds, the
Without
lemons don't
seeds.
have seeds, the seeds.
Yeah.
They're doing all of this on purpose, man. They know they're making our bodies weaker. If you are what you eat, if you're eating
Yeah.
food that rots in 2 or 3 days, what do you think it's doing to your body? Get some strawberries from the store, put them in the refrigerator, and watch what happens to them in 3 or 4 days. They're already molding and rotting. You
Mm-hmm.
think that's quality food?
Yeah.
It's not.
Mm-mm.
Brother, I
Ain't no
picked
way to
some raw
work.
strawberries. I picked some raw strawberries last year, and I left those strawberries like in a paper bag, and all they did was wither up. They didn't rot. They just dried up.
Yeah.
And it took them about 3 months to do that. I had some wild onions that I got, that I picked. It took a year for them to dry out. They were fresh for 8 months, and they were never in the refrigerator. I just recently got rid of them. So all I'm saying is this. Here's a power formula. You eat healthy, you eat righteous, you drink clean water, you're in the sunshine, you're out of America because America's a cemetery. Sebi used to always say, why did them Africans go to the desert and build a civilization? He's talking about Egypt. He said, why did they go to the desert? I don't get it. He used to always say that. And he said it's like they went to bury themselves. That's what he used to always say. I am saying America's a cemetery now. And you can't make any excuses. So when I say the power formula, you eat healthy, you live righteous, you have a good mate, your spouse, right? You live in the sunshine, you don't live in America anymore. This is a cemetery now. It's over. It's a wrap. It can't be saved, and it cannot be repaired, and it cannot be reversed.
I always hear, remember Bobby Hemmett, well, he always talked about how the black race is in the cocoon stage. He always breaks it down to how, we all felt the big fall and falling asleep, And it's interesting because me and my mate, we were sitting on the porch a couple last week, whatever, right? No, yeah. About last week. It's about 70 degrees, you know what I'm saying? Because, right now I'm in Virginia. So it's like 70 degrees, just sitting out there, right? Sun beaming down. I started sweating, you know what I'm saying? Because the sun, it was high noon, so the sun was, came just right down on me. I'm going to tell you something, Tony. Real talk. That sun was hitting my melanin. I feel the downloads, literally. I was just figuring out, I was just talking to her. I was just like, yo, this is what's happening. I was breaking all this stuff down. And it's just like, just because of the sun hitting that melanin. You know what I'm saying? Just because I was getting these downloads, yo. And to me, because for me, doing the research, now I'm starting to see really how important, just starting to see how truly important this melanin is. You know what I mean? And what did you say Dr.Sebi called it? He said, it's not melanin, it's carbon. What do you say?
Yeah, he always used to say that. Melanin, who came up with that?
Yeah.
It's Greek.
Yeah. But,
he used to say that
just
all the time.
kind of piggybacking what you're saying. Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel that 100% just being on that sun. I can only imagine how it feels being in Africa with that sun.
Yeah, man, that African sun, man, is intense. Do you remember when when we went to the storage and we were standing out there and you said, brother, this sun is like sun I ain't never experienced before. It was intense, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't feel like no sun I had
Oh,
felt
yeah, it was,
either.
man. That thing.
And so, think about this.
Yeah.
So,
and that.
Go ahead.
No, go
Go ahead,
ahead.
Zoser. I was just going to say, look, think about this.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. Think about this. So you're in that equator sunshine, wherever you choose to be. You got to be somewhere outside of this place because this place is finished. It cannot be repaired. So you're in a clean place, no chemtrails. You're in a beautiful blue sky. Water's clean, the air is clean. You goats running all around and chickens and people's cows and nobody bothers them. And I don't know, man, as I said before, we have got to navigate and move differently now. You got to be quiet. You got to be underground, man. You got to be under the radar now. And you cannot you cannot skinny dip in this filthy pool. The 5%. You remember the 5%ers, right? Remember the brothers in New York, Chicago, 5%ers?
Supreme.
Okay. Yes. So I'm saying it's, they were right. They were absolutely right. It's only about 5%.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
And so the
100%.
architects are like this. The architects is positioning their thoughts like this. Okay, since it's only 5%, we know they're not going to take the sauce. Let's just be real. They're not taking the sauce. So let's just cull the other 95%.
Yeah.
or some percentage thereof.
They doing the Thanos. They doing the Thanos. They doing the Thanos.
Just got rid of everybody. Yep, the
The
Thanos glove. Yes, yes, yeah, they are. That's
they
what it looks like. Yep.
detaching. Yeah, man. They detaching people's, their soul from their being. They're putting a
Yeah.
barrier in there, and
Hmm.
what I'm saying. I'm already seeing that, man. Unfortunately, you know, but yeah, man. So what now we're gonna change gears a little bit, man.
Hmm.
Is there anything? Because I know you talk about the crypto and stuff like that, and um, platinum VK. Now I don't know how much you can go in on, but there's a token that's getting attached to that as well, right?
Yeah, one day we had a meeting and we were looking at how can we get Platinum VK like really out to the masses, because all the people have to do is take the
Mm-hmm.
product and they will see for themselves. I don't have to say nothing. I don't even use words like cure and so forth, because that to me is a non-starter. Your body does what it naturally does. That's why I mentioned the NK cells. Everybody should write this word down: NK cells, and then do your research on this group of cells. Ruthless. Ruthless like the mafia, the Chinese mafia, Italian mafia. You know what I mean? Hey, ruthless. Japanese mafia, American mafia. Ruthless. So
Yeah.
what the product simply does is it simply gives the latitude, the longitude, the vertical and the horizontal, space for your cells to do what they naturally do. It goes in and alkalinize that blood so that those cells can, move and do what they need to do. It lets the body, it excites the cells, the defense cells, that it's time to go to work. So look,
Mm-hmm.
most people never probably heard this before, but
Mm-hmm.
in an ant colony, when the queen mother that's producing all of the eggs, all of the offspring that's protected by the superior, or what they call them, the her guards. What do they call them? The imperial guards who guard her at all times. All of the ants that we see above ground are female. They are all sterilized. They cannot reproduce. They are a group of workers. They cannot reproduce. If that nest ever come under attack, her imperial guards move her quickly to safety. So she may have to move out of that nest and it's underground and they're moving her away from danger, right? Immediately, she starts producing army ants. She stopped producing workers or female drones. She immediately started producing only military ants. And she will only mate with the imperial guard. The ones who protect her is the only ones she will mate with. Every ant that we see out working and so forth are all female, sterilized. There's a book called Ants, and I read that book years ago, and it was just fascinating. So what I'm saying is,
Mm-hmm.
when the body is under attack through either some foreign pathogen or some disease, cancer, whatever it is, your body start producing, listen to this carefully, your body start producing defense cells to protect it. You have different groups of cells that rebuild the body and a group of cells that defend the body, right? So you destroy it, and then you have the construction workers that rebuild it, right? When your body comes
Mm-hmm.
under attack, it immediately produces all of these cells: NK, B cells, D cells, T cells, lymphocytes, phagocytes, macrophages. It's producing them. But if you eat horribly, it will produce weak defense cells, a bunch of punks who cannot defend the body.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat healthy, you produce strong cells that are capable of defending the body. But if you're eating Kentucky Fried Chicken, if you're eating McDonald's, if you're eating Pizza Hut, if you're eating microwave foods, if you're eating
Mm-hmm.
fried foods, if you're drinking
Mm-hmm.
pop, if you're drinking milk, if you're eating cheese and scrambled eggs and all of that other stuff, the cells that your body produce to defend it
Mm-hmm.
are going to be so damn weak that it was a waste of time even producing them. It just took more energy from the body that the body needed just to sustain itself, so you start getting sick. That's an indication that the cells that's being produced are weak as hell.
Yeah.
You want to reverse that fast. Start
Shooting
fasting.
blank.
Just stop eating.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a study done that if you can fast for 10 days, the probability of you ever getting cancer is reduced by 70%. For every 10 days that you can fast, no food, just water,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
reduce the possibility of you ever getting cancer by 70%. You
Goodness
give the
gracious.
body enough time to totally reboot itself when you do a 10-day fast. All of your cells are new. All of your defense cells are like on standby. The macrophages are eating up all of the fat and looking for any polysaccharides or any fat or anything they can consume to sustain themselves. Once they've eaten all of that fat and gotten rid of all of that extra garbage out of your system, they produce a whole nother class of cells. That's through just fasting and drinking clean water. We know a lot of things, but we don't know how this body works. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
say, yes, if you're going to, if we live in this time that we live in, and you're going to survive, you're going to have to start eating righteously, healthy, clean, real
Mm-hmm.
clean. Because most of the food in America is garbage. I go to Whole Foods or some nice place,
Yeah.
and go get food. Seedless lemons, seedless limes, seedless grapes, seedless watermelon, and the list just goes on and on and on. They're removing the seeds, and I know how they do that. I know exactly how they do it
Mm-hmm.
in terms of agriculture,
Mm-hmm.
where they sterilize the male so that the male cannot reproduce. That's what they do. So the flowers that actually pollinate the female flower, it could be from insects, but then you have some plants that contain the male and female flowers. So what they do is they cut off the male, so that it's only female, you know, and so it won't produce seeds because it wasn't properly fertilized by the male.
You you know, you making me think now right now because I'm starting to see, and it's a lot of people starting to talk about it. You know, food shortages. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Planned.
I saw this one clip, and the brother was saying like, different cities were just saying like, yo, they go to their local place, and it's just that there's food all empty on the shelves and stuff like that. It's like you could take one of those books that you were just talking about with that
Mm-hmm.
information in it. Man, you got a marketplace outside. You got the
Absolutely.
nicest. You got the nicest Kroger, the best Whole Foods. Just all you gotta do is go outside and pick what you want.
Absolutely.
You
And
know,
you
so them
definitely
them
want
jokers
you
in
definitely
them
want to do
jokers in
that.
the Hunger Game, them jokers in the Hunger Games, man, they were tripping. They instead of being all hungry, they should have went out when they all in the woods. They should have been looking for them acorns and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. They could be looking at
Instead
the
of
acorns,
worrying about getting the
tapping
food
the
from
trees.
hmm yeah, you know what I'm saying, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
key, and that's very important, I think, for survival. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you already know they coming full. Not only are they using food as a weapon, because
Mm-hmm.
now they talk about put some of the sauce in the food.
No, no, they're
You hear
already
about
doing
that?
it, especially meat. Yeah, they're putting it in the meat. It's already in the meat. Do you remember when there was a
It's
chicken
already in the meat.
shortage a
Oh
while
Lord.
back? Do you remember a little while back there was a
Yeah.
chicken shortage? What do you think they
Yeah.
were doing with the
I remember
chicken?
that.
Don't take my word for it. Do your research. It's already in the
Experimental.
chicken. No, they were
Yeah.
putting the sauce in the chicken.
Man, shoot.
It's in the
Yeah,
chicken,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, okay.
And the beef, and the pork. It's in there. So check this out. Remember what I said earlier? That
Hmm.
the elite, the alter ego of the elite, which would be the entertainers, the politicians, the managers that manage the masses, they have their own world, right?
Hmm.
Listen,
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
think that they're having shortages in Boca Raton? You think they're having shortages in Buckhead in the
Mm-mm.
grocery stores? Exactly. But for the slaves, remember what I said. For the slaves, that's how they do the slaves.
Hmm.
Shortages. That ain't the problem in Boca Raton. It's not the problem in Beverly Hills. It's not the problem in Baldwin Hills. It's not the problem in Manhattan, etc. You dig?
Hmm.
It's just
Hmm.
for the slaves.
And I'm yeah, and go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Yeah, and I'm almost 100%, I made my mind up that, these jokers are just lying about getting sauced up anyway. You know what I'm saying? They just,
Of
they put
course.
them in front of the cameras like saying, "Oh yes," you know what I'm saying? Sauce, have a sauce-a-thon. Everybody sauced up.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Them jokers sitting back
Yeah.
like, yeah, look at these idiots. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But it's there's a lot of pertinent information that you gave them for survival, man. In so many ways, um,
Hmm.
we got, and that's just a key, man. We got to get our mind right. You know what I'm saying? I was just talking to somebody recently, and that was like all that stuff I learned when I first became conscious. I got to go
Hmm.
back that
Hmm.
and these days use that as a foundation. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? To
Absolutely. Go
navigate
back to
through all of
square
this
one.
craziness.
Yep. Going back to square
Square
one.
one, man. You know what I'm
And
saying?
see,
Square one. That's
and
exactly what I'm
let
doing.
me
You know what I'm saying?
let me just say this because I didn't want to cut that part off, if I may. Yes, we have a
Hmm.
token. We have this token that we
Yeah.
created. Now, why did we
Hmm.
create this token? A lot of people are familiar with Bitcoin. Some people are familiar with Dogecoin and Shiba Inu. Some of these trends that happened the last year and so forth. Well, we created this token because we
Hmm.
understood that the digital world and the crypto world is here to stay. So we created a token that we call
Hmm.
Platinum O2, and our token will be like on the major exchanges sometime in the spring, but it's going to be on like maybe 4 or 5 exchanges over the next several days. We're already being listed on some exchanges, so we'll have the token on the exchanges. Why?
Hmm.
Because you need to have your own currency that has value that you can use anywhere on the earth. But in connection to the token that we created, we also created a device that we've been working on for years. This particular device
Hmm.
is like it's more than a miner, meaning Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. Let me see, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin Cash. It's a number of them that fall into the category of proof of it needs to be mined through a mining rig. It's like a computer that solves mathematical problems and create a block, and from the block you get rewards like Bitcoin or Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and so forth, right? Our token is a proof of stake, meaning we created a certain amount of tokens and we put a certain amount aside, and then we allow a certain amount of them to be staked, meaning you hold these tokens for rewards of more tokens, etc. Now, let me explain this. This particular device that we have been working on and is ready to get this unit patent will mine cryptocurrencies. It will run master nodes, any master node or validator node, doesn't matter. It can run up to 6 simultaneously. It can also, listen to this very carefully, it can also run virtual cloud services. All of this in one unit, and is integrated in DeFi. DeFi, decentralized finance. When I heard that Byron Allen was doing the kind of deals that he was doing, and purchasing television stations all across the country, very quietly doing this, I realized at that point, I'm like, from everything that I've done in my life up to this point, the one thing that I didn't get right, Brother Zosa, is I didn't get the money part right. It was never the real focus. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to master finance. And I don't have to go to school for it because I'm going to be dealing with crypto. Now, anybody who wants to see how extensive the financial world is, go to Google and type in NASDAQ glossary. NASDAQ glossary. And get ready to get your mind blown. All right? I decided that I'm mastering finance. How do I start that? Well, with this particular device, I get to do a lot of things with this device, right? Now, this is going to be available for everybody. Anybody who wants it will be able to get it. This particular device, you take this device and you install this device, this device, you'll be able to earn your cryptocurrencies currency like on a daily basis. Literally. You'll be able to do it $600 a month, $800 a month. You can do it in series. You can run multiple master nodes. It's a lot of things you'll be able to do with it. And so what I'm saying is taking this technology to Africa, taking this technology to the world has advantages for everybody. It doesn't disrupt anything. It simply makes it a lot more practical, mining cryptocurrencies, etc. So that's why we created the token. To not only have the token, but have a device that mines cryptocurrencies efficiently, 80% less energy, because a mining rig would be like running a clothes dryer literally 24 hours a day. That will eat up all of your energy. I mean, literally, you'd be paying about $1,000 or $2,000 a month for electricity. But this unit, 80% less energy. Nothing like it exists. And so that's what we're working on as well. It's not just VK Platinum. It's kind of like George Washington Carver. Once George Washington Carver mastered his understanding of plant life, he went on and started painting. And then from that, he went on to other things. Because you see, when your consciousness open up and you get downloads, you go beyond what you started with. You go way beyond that. So I'm simply saying, Platinum VK, Platinum O2, it keeps us healthy, it keeps our immune system strong. But the technology we have keep your pockets strong too. It's got to be health. It's got to be wealth. Zoster, I can't hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I was saying that Billy Carson, I think he put out a book recently called "Broke Doesn't Mean," well, no, "Woke Doesn't Mean Broke." I think that's the name of it. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about Mansa Musa, and I think about ancient Egypt, and them trading all this gold with Nubia and all this kind of stuff. It's like, yo, we were always balling. My finances was always rolling with us, since day one. You know what I mean?
That's true.
On top of all, it was all intermingled. Even dealing like with modern day, like with Jews.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Jews take their religion and they take finances and they mold it together. You know what I'm saying? As a part of the foundation for their
Right.
family. For the future. In the future, it's a part of their the rites of passage. It's a part of their culture, literally.
Mm-hmm.
But we've always been that. It's just that again because of us going to sleep. You know what I mean? We just lost that, but ain't no excuse anymore because all this, like you said, all this information is out there, and now just
Yeah.
like anything else, is fair game. It's fair game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. In fact, cryptocurrency, the funny thing about cryptocurrency is, in some respects, or I shouldn't say some respects, but in many respects, kind of like even a playing field. If you go ahead and learn it,
Oh
you can
yeah.
actually you can actually
Exactly.
level this playing field and understand that it's not simply
Hmm.
cryptocurrencies and buying someone else's cryptocurrencies. It's understanding how
Hmm.
decentralized finance work, because you can bring precious metals into that as well, and other assets, hard assets. It's
Hmm.
not just crypto,
Yep.
but
Hmm.
crypto combined with the
Yeah.
other elements give you your full portfolio of assets, or
Portfolio.
revenue generating assets.
Hmm.
Crypto is just one element of that, but it'd be better to have your crypto, let's say, stored on a Ledger Nano device or a Trezor or something where you can take it anywhere on Earth. Literally, you can put all of your cryptocurrencies. Let's say you have a 600, 700, 800,000, a million worth of crypto. Put all of that on your Ledger wallet or your Trezor, go anywhere in the world and set up your whole new foundation.
Hmm.
But in order to do that, you have to have the
Yeah.
right information. Because just looking at Bitcoin
Yeah.
is
Right
that's
knowledge.
that is that is not the right way to look at it. There are many other cryptos that are 10x and 5x and 6x, and
Hmm.
people are looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin would have to double, literally, to be able to, from where it's at, for it to have that full value that you may be looking for, that other
Hmm.
lesser tokens and cryptos can do for you. Most of those tokens, that are doing well is outperforming Bitcoin. Like even Solana. Solana is outperforming Bitcoin or Ethereum. And we can go to other coins as well. Algorand, just go through them. I mean, they're outperforming those top 4 or 5 cryptos. But I'm saying this. Now that we know we have to navigate this thing differently, you got to get like really quiet. You got to start, I like to call it this: downsize, economize, liquidate, then vacate.
Delve.
America's dead.
That's the acronym.
America's dead.
Delve.
Yeah.
Downside.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a waste of time, trying to buy things and consume things. People always talk about buying a home. Man, later for all of that. That's the past. You have got to exit this place now. There is nothing left.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, man. I agree. It doesn't even. A lot of times, it doesn't even seem. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, finish, Joseph.
No, I was just saying. A lot of time when I wake up today, and I just look at the world and how it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like a whole different reality. It's like what I lived in growing up is gone, and it's not going back. You know what I'm saying? It's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? So you have to adjust. You have to adjust to this new reality, or you're just gonna be left behind.
Yes. And in navigating this whole,
and I think you laid.
We got a little delay, but go ahead. I want you to finish that point.
Yeah, we got. No, I was just you've laid a very, very good blueprint today to be able to navigate through this upcoming future. Get your spirit right, get your mind right. You know what I'm saying? Get a good mate, a good spouse to help you make things happen. You know what I'm saying? Get your money right. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that are going to get us through these turbulent times. And those are very key points to that, man. Now, is there anything that you want to do as far as on an end note that you want to talk about in more detail about maybe how I'm gonna give you the stage for closing out. So whatever you want to talk about, go ahead, bro.
Well, again, I would like to reiterate, to men, especially men of the original seed of the earth. Listen, you got to navigate differently. We know that the playing field is rigged with mines everywhere we step to destroy us or demean us or dehumanize us, etc. So you got to move differently. You cannot look at this world like you did yesterday or last year. It doesn't exist anymore. The architects are forcing the sauce on everybody because they know they're running out of time. I don't know if you guys listened to Prince Charles, this talk that he gave where he said, look, we're running out of time. We need to get this thing done. And he said that he has more resources. Listen to this. He has more resources than all of the economies and GDPs of the world combined. And everybody was like, who is he talking about? Who is he? I am telling you, brothers, because when a brother moves and everybody else moves, if they don't move with the brother, then later for him. Because if the brother's moving, then he's connected. He's in tune. Ain't no buying no house. Ain't no buying no Mercedes Benz. Ain't buying no jewels and diamonds. No. That's old. That's dead life stuff. So I say one more time. We got to navigate differently now. We cannot do what we did in the past. It's gone. It's dead. And if the brother is moving, and they're not moving with them, like what did the scripture give us this story about Lot when Lot was told to leave the city. Remember? And he said, "Don't look back."
You got mopped up.
You dig? Don't look back. Keep it moving. Don't look back. Ain't nothing to look back at. And we understand what that means allegorically or symbolically. It means don't look back with
Yes.
any emotions or memories of the past. Walk away and keep on going. Don't you dare look back at this filth. So, brothers, we got to navigate differently. If the person that you're with is not willing to get on that path and navigate with you, keep on moving. Leave them behind and keep on stepping. We don't have time for any more bullshit. It's time to move. So the key here right now, get your mind right. Get your spirit right, of course. Keep your health right. Get your money right. Move it into crypto, not fiat. Little fiat, mostly crypto. And have your things set up properly. In other words, let's say you have your crypto assets already here, right? And if you move them across the blockchain, it might be detectable. Be smart. Get you a new computer when you get out of here. Set up your new account, and from your all of your accounts to your new one, and you're free. Ain't nothing they can do about that. Can you dig it? I am saying that's how you got to move now. You got to keep thinking, how do I get out and from under the beast? Because the beast has got it out for me.
Yeah.
The beast is moving at light speed. So I got to move at light speed. I got to go underground. I got to go under the radar. And I got to navigate this thing. Those would be my closing remarks. Because it doesn't matter where you go in the world. You just got to get the hell up out of here.
Yeah. Man. You said a mouthful, brother, man. And I appreciate, look, we finally did it, Tony. We've been talking about doing this for
Long
a
time.
year.
Remember we did it?
Change, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know.
Remember you did it when you said the whole thing?
The computer broke. The
Yeah.
computer broke. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, it did.
Well, we did it, and I'm gonna keep on having you on here. I'm gonna have you on here, man, as much as often as you want to be, man, because we got to get this information out to these good folks, man, these good brothers and sisters, man. So.
And let me.
That's it
let
on
me-
my
but wait a
end.
minute.
Of course, I'm gonna,
One more thing. For people who insist that they have to get the sauce, data out now that shows that there are certain batches that do a certain amount of damage, and there are certain batches that take a longer time. And they have the numbers for them. If you want to see it, go to BitChute and type it in. And these doctors will show you. They can't put this on YouTube because YouTube is heavily censored on every level. So you have to go to BitChute and then start doing your research from BitChute, and then you'll get more accurate data. And like I said, my background being organic chemistry, I know a little bit about microbiology, a little bit about molecular biology, a little bit about biochemistry, and of course organic chemistry. So I can go look at the terms, and I have all of this. I've got all of the materials. I can go look at my biochemistry encyclopedias or dictionaries or terminology, and I can find it and then put together, the right wording for it to make sense. Because sometimes you have to make sense, because a lot of my new words created for certain medical applications or scientific terminology. You have to be able to navigate scientific terminology, especially when it comes to medical and health, etc. And that takes time. But I'm telling people, go to BitChute where you'll get more accurate information on what's going on right now. Some of it is redundant. Some of it is a bunch of crazy folks talking a bunch of nonsense. But you'll know when you hear the truth. That's my last words, brother.
all right, man. Well, I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put once you give me the information, any type of contact information, once I actually, post this on the podcast and everywhere else. You know what I'm saying? People want to reach out to you. Whatever you give me, I'm gonna post up there. Besides that, man, this was a splendid conversation, and it was an honor to have my man Tony Drake on here, aka Doc, on here.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Again, of course, you know what I'm saying? If you haven't, go by yourbrozo.com and pick up this book. My other books are they're gonna be out this year. Working on them. So, actually, some of the stuff that we talk about in this podcast is in this book. So, you know, that's really it for me. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna keep on rolling, man. I got a lot more great guests like this. So, please spread the word, share, like, and subscribe to the channel. You know what I mean? And just stay with us, man, because we're gonna keep coming with it, man. And Tony, we're gonna have you back on here, right?
Sir, and people can always go, they need the products, they can always go to platinumvk.com, and get the products. Platinum VK, Boost, Sex Mate, Prostate Health, PMS, premenopause. We have powerful formulas for all of that. And even though I come from the Dr.Sebi school, I'm not trying to repeat what Dr.Sebi did. Why would I do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's it, brother.
that's it. All right, bro.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
all right. Well, that was an honor, man. And and we're gonna be getting back soon, bro.
Yes, sir.
Peace
Thank you,
and
brother.
love, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right, we good.
Peace.